3, 2, 1, and we're live, we're recording. Chris, this is SHB Unfiltered, the podcast, episode number
43,
which means we have been recording, podcasting consecutively for 43 days. I believe we did start on a Saturday 6 weeks ago as well, which is incredible. How do you feel, man, about 6 whole weeks, 6 entire weeks? We're now into the 7th week.
We're now into the 7th week. Well, we said we were going to commit. We're still here. We're still going strong. Definitely. Except for AO's connection today. But
that connection is weak. Some weak connection. But let's see, let's monitor the situation. His picture's still there, and it's I keep thinking he's there, but he's not. Because if you look at the picture, it looks like he's about to say something.
Yeah.
It's putting me off. However, we'll carry on. Where should we start with? I think we should start with your day so far. How's it been?
My day, I'm tired now. I always said that my body clock is a bit messed up. And today I woke up early. We had the live Q&A, which was good. I enjoyed it. It was good to meet a couple people for the first time in person. After that, I've been trying to do some research for work purposes and other project purposes. It's been difficult. My brain feels fried. I get quite impatient with stuff on the computer if I can't work it out. So today I had to really stay patient, keep my emotions intact, similar to working on the speech, really. So that was a transferable skill that I was able to implement. How's your day been, Ruben?
Cool. As you can see, my hair is acclimatizing to the headband. It's not looking too bad, I think. Improving as the day goes on, as the days go on, the length. Because normally I get my hair cut probably every month, but it's now been over 2 months.
Yeah, mad.
Mm-hmm. So I'm fortunate I have this little piece, this apparatus to keep my hair intact. But on to more important things, I was also on the webinar and I didn't miss the 7 a.m. reading club. However, I had a good excuse. I was knackered because yesterday night I joined Toastmaster Club, with a group based in New York City in NYC.
Yeah, tell us about that. Tell us how it went.
It was really good because UK time it started around 11:30 p.m. Went on to about 1:15 here. For them it was 6:30 in the evening, and the group there was about 30 people there. You could hear like a mix of it's Italian American accents and some of the people, they're from like some were Hispanic, some were Italian background, some Jewish as well, and so there's like a wide mix of people within there, and they're brilliant, man, brilliant. Yeah, as in like because they were speaking about kind of their background and their stories and their speeches, and really good vibe. And they have this bit in every meeting where guests have to do like an introduction. And so when they came to me, they're like, Ruben, tell us where you're from and what club you're from. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I'm not from this country, but I'm from the UK. I'm from a club in London. And I just set myself the challenge of attending clubs in a couple of countries during a lockdown. So here I am. Everyone was just like, oh, wow, we didn't know that was possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you the only non-American there?
Sorry?
Was you the only non-American?
No, but there were some who were living there, but from different countries.
Yeah.
I was only like non-resident.
Yeah, non-resident, yeah.
Yeah, took part in table topics as well, which is cool.
How did that go?
It was really good. If you're wondering, they didn't actually announce a winner or anything. If that was what you wanted.
I was going to say, SHB comes back with a trophy every time, man. Where's your trophy? Oh, the certificate.
Nah. They didn't have the actual award thing, but it was actually quite a hard one because what they did, they had one topic you have to argue for or against. So you kind of like go head to head with someone for a minute each. So
Wow, that's tough.
yeah, but because of that, you couldn't really put anything coherent together, and probably about 12 people took part in that. So they just sacked it off in the end in terms of the awards. But the actual group was pretty cool. Got in touch with their kind of secretary. She gave me dates and links for other meetings with other clubs in the area for next week. So if you're interested.
New York.
Yes, if you're interested.
Wow.
Yeah, but it'll be like pretty late again, 11:30
okay.
Start, 12 start.
Yeah.
But this is the one chance, because I can't think of any other opportunity where these places would do these things on Zoom. So that's the advantage, right? I guess this allows you to visit different clubs over VC, which I think is incredible.
Yeah, there's one, I think the South Woodford one, the one closest to me, they run on a Tuesday. I think they're running on Tuesday at 7 p.m.
They're on Zoom right now as well, I think.
Yeah, so yeah. I was gonna mention to you off a podcast, off air, that perhaps on Tuesday we can do the podcast a bit earlier and I can attend the South Woodford Toastmasters for the first time.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's do the podcast earlier and see what time we start, because that's always the best intention, isn't it?
Yeah, or come on to that as well if you want. You invite me to all your Toastmasters, I might as well invite you to one local to me.
I don't know, because evenings are more like kind of time with the wifey. So we watch Netflix. Yeah. So I can't like take the mick too much with this stuff, right?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. We have to dedicate time
work-life balance, right? Speech-life balance.
Speech life. Working on your speech life balance.
Mm-hmm. One other highlight of my day, which I didn't mention, was had a good 45-minute call with Mike Wilson. And really cool guy.
Yeah,
and
Mike Wilson a lot. I've spoken to him on the phone once, I think, before. A really good chat. Really nice guy.
He can talk for Britain and for the US if he wanted to. But yeah, really nice guy. Had a good chat. I learned all about the American political system, history, and the evolution of voting rights, which was interesting. Really good chat. But anyway.
How did that call come about?
Sorry?
How did that call come about? You just called him out of the blue, or he called you out of the blue?
He called me out of the blue.
Right.
However, we had already exchanged messages before on WhatsApp and kind of agreed to have this call, but it just didn't materialize.
Oh, right.
So he didn't hold back. He took the initiative, and yeah, we had a good catch up. He did say he'd spoken to yourself and AO and stuff, and of course he wanted to speak to me properly, which was cool. And that's it, man. That's it. What are you saying, Chris? What's the topic today?
Me?
I'm joking. Don't worry. I'm not going to put you in the spot. Do you know what we're going to talk about today?
What?
I thought it'd be a good chance to discuss, although AO's not here, but discuss some of the output from this morning's webinar.
Cool. I was actually going to suggest that.
Cool, perfect. So in terms of like structure to this episode, I thought we touch on about 2 or 3 points, go through the first one, gauge our kind of interpretation, analyze and see what we think the question stemmed from and how you can maybe incorporate some of the advice that was given out, and then kind of conclude that and go to the next one. We'll see how many of these points we can get through. I'm not going to see if I have anything on my notes, but first thing, I thought this is the scenario. So you have a person working on their speech, going through kind of program or an approach. This person started working on this actively 6 months ago. Could say 7, 8, but less for this particular example, say 6. And they're doing really, really well, pushing themselves into all these types of challenges and stuff. But they're starting to get maybe kind of inklings or messages in the back of the mind saying, "Are you doing too much too soon?" Chris, what would you say to that person? And they haven't given any clues or any comments about any deterioration in their speech. It's just purely thoughts.
I don't think you can do too much too soon in terms of pushing yourself. The only thing you can do too much too soon of when working on a speech is going for spontaneous fluency. As long as you're conscious and you're implementing your tools and techniques that you've learned, whatever program you're on, I think you can't push yourself too much too soon, especially if you've got over that first period, that first month. If we're talking about you're 6 months into it or 8 months into it, there's not really too much you can do that wouldn't be a benefit to you, that wouldn't be you pushing your comfort zone in a good way. I can understand that people haven't experimented enough, people haven't got to grips with the technique enough, and they might be trying to do too much too soon at the beginning, or putting themselves into situations that are too difficult for them and they could get disheartened. But after 6 months, I don't think there is anything that could be too much, really. Everything is a challenge, everything is a learning experience. And I think probably the perfect time to push yourself, really, because you are on that high, you are doing well with your speech, your confidence is up there. So now it's time to see how far you really can push yourself. Because inevitably, unfortunately, there may be a little blip. But when that little blip happens, you know how far you've come, you know what you've achieved. So if you're not pushing yourself when you're on your high, then when you do get a little bit of a blip, there's not really anything that great to look back on to reinforce in your mind. But look what I've done, look what I achieved. So I don't think there is too much you can do.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And I'm going to now give you a second point to this scenario. They hit their blip. It's like stuttering all over the shop, blocking all over the place, blood everywhere. It's a madness. Now they think, "Oh man, I need to get back to my practice and stuff." But they're now kind of like, they've lost that bit of faith in their working and thinking, "Man, I've only been doing this a few months, but I've been stuttering for X amount of years." And now they're kind of stuck in this rut where, because their elevation was so quick, they feel that they can't regain that momentum that they had before. So I think that might be the key thing you can lose, momentum. Fair enough, you can pick up your speed, come back and go back and forward. But there's nothing like the initial momentum they're probably riding right now. Can't say exactly. So what would you say in that sense? Is that momentum, is that something that should be sought after again, or is that more of a initial plans that you will only get once?
I don't think you should rely on momentum in order to have good control of your speech. What I would ask them is, what do you feel has got you into the situation that you're now in? What did you start to do differently? What's happened? Because that is the root cause of why you're beginning to struggle again. And usually it's because they take their foot off the gas in terms of advertising or implementing tools and techniques. It's not usually about pushing yourself, because you don't have to push yourself every week to maintain your speech. You don't have to be doing something every day. But if you're not using every speaking situation to show the listener you're working on your speech, then what ends up happening after a while is you tend to go for fluency. And when you're going for fluency and you're getting caught out here, and then that damages your belief system a little bit, then you get caught out again, and then that's like another dent into your belief system. that's what builds up, and that's where you end up getting in that rut. So it's not necessarily, yes, okay, to get back initially, you might have to immerse yourself quite a bit again to get quick wins, small wins to rebuild your belief system. But I don't believe that you need to rely on momentum. We speak all the time. We have to communicate all the time. So you're definitely not short of opportunities to, well, unless you're in a lockdown, but in your usual everyday life, you're not usually short of speaking opportunities where you can advertise. So I would be focusing on all those opportunities to work on your speech. It's not necessarily about going out and doing a public speech next week, because I've been blocking a bit last week. It's about building up again, doing the things that got you to the good place in the first place. I mean, what's your take on that, Ruben? If someone came to you and said, listen, I've had an amazing speech and now I've got a blip and I'm worried that this blip isn't going to be a blip, it's going to last out and stretch out for months. How do I get out of it? Would your way of thinking be completely different to mine?
Not entirely. However, I'd have to first kind of assess quickly, because say for example, like with us, we are doing this daily podcast. Now, if I had a day where my blocks were just complete shambles, right? Would you personally think I would call in sick there and say, Chris, I can't do this episode. Take this on by yourself, read out a book or something?
No chance.
So I think that's the first thing. What do you do when something's hit the fan? What do you do? Now, the second thing is, okay, so you still go for it regardless. Now, how do you get your speech back to that level? Now, it's easy to get kind of influenced by so many things you read and all these kind of different approaches, but you got to bear in mind, you've been trying things for X amount of years, but something has got you to a certain stage which allowed you to do all these things. And go back to like that, and go back to the fundamentals of that, because it's easy to get wrapped up in other things. And that's going to lead me actually to the next question. But I'll mention that in a second. But for this particular kind of scenario, really think about what brought you to this stage. And if you are constantly pushing yourself, then it isn't a bad thing. If anything, it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have. It isn't something that you should worry about, because if that's your worry with regards to speech, then you've come a long way, right? Because your speech worries a while back were completely different. If before you were thinking, man, I don't want to say my name out in class, to man, like, I'm not sure if I should record episode 65 of this podcast, then you've come a long way.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd think about it. And then obviously kind of take care of your speech, take care of the thing that is kind of getting you to these situations and to these goals. Take care of your speech, take care of yourself. It's vital. Anything else before we move on to the next thing, Chris?
Yeah, a couple of things. Just, well, the main thing is that when you get to that blip, it's also about the person's attitude towards that blip. So it's about that person, have they now reached a stage where they think that they're too good or come too far to go all the way back to basics to rebuild again? If that's their attitude, then as a coach, you have to put them in check, because you've only been working on your speech for 6 months. Yes, you've done brilliantly, but this is a long journey. So
no, carry on, but I'm going to hold you as soon as you finish that sentence.
Okay.
There's stuff we can use in the next topic. That's why.
Yeah, because at that point, that is not the time to start searching for plan B and C. You haven't even given plan A or the first thing you're working on enough of a shot.
Which brings me to the next question.
Okay, good.
Perfect opportunity now. Perfect opportunity. Brilliant. So, Chris, you've been working on your speech now for a year, maybe more, and you've had your blip or two or three or more, and you bounce back and you're smashing goals right now, and have it kind of achieved the level of consistency now for half a year to 10 months. I don't know what it is. It's amazing, right? Now you're attending all these things, going to networking events and meeting all these like-minded people, yoga retreats and the whatnot, and doing this amazing stuff that actually holistically making you feel a lot better, your health getting better, and all different other aspects. Your whole system is actually improving. Now, with kind of like with stuttering now, would you now adjust your approach and actually say, hang on a minute, wait, these things are making kind of a far better impact on my life right now. I'm going to start focusing more on these things to actually strengthen my speech. And this is what I want to do going forward.
What do you mean these things, all these yoga retreats and all this?
I think more like more of the kind of meditation, yoga retreats, and these things linked to mind body holistic approaches.
Yeah.
What's your take on actually diverting attention towards these types of practices away from your techniques and your WOMs, working on my speech approach that brought you to kind of your first destination? These have taken you an element further, but would you then forsake them completely or to a certain extent, or how would you divide your time between the two?
No, it's just because you, in my opinion, just because you now know how to shoot a 3-pointer, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing layups as well. In my opinion, I don't think you should neglect what got you there to the first place. If it wasn't for what got you there in the first place, you wouldn't be trying no yoga retreat. You wouldn't be working on your mindfulness. You wouldn't be doing all these other things. So, or you wouldn't be doing them with the same confidence and self-esteem, or you wouldn't be doing them as comfortably as you are now. So I wouldn't neglect them personally. And also, you said after about a year, you're starting to explore these things. I would take it
too soon. Is that too soon, you think, a year?
Yeah, I think it's way too soon. I think it's way too soon to start looking at other things. I think you need to be implementing and giving something that you're working on at least a couple of years to really experiment, really learn about it, really work out what you can strip back and what you need to double down on.
The reason why I brought it up is because you probably know as well, within stuttering community, you meet loads of different people. And as soon as you enter, you're actually there to improve your speech. But once you kind of speak to more people, you find out that because everyone's tried different things, you get that inkling as well. So hypnosis or transcendental breathing, or like this standing upside down, or belly breathing, and this and everyone literally gone to all different types of places because you get immersed in that type of community. It could be easy to get kind of like distracted by other kind of ancillary things where you then spend less time on the core fundamentals that actually brought you to your good place.
Yeah, you see, someone will tell you about something else that they've tried, but they haven't told you exactly how long they've been doing it for, or how long it took them to get to that point, or what they did before, and did that contribute to that making the next thing effective. And usually it is the case. usually it is the previous program or whatever you're doing previously that assisted in making the next thing work for them, or whatever they consider to be work. I don't know. I just think that working on your speech and advertising, you need to give that a real good shot before you start thinking about doing anything else, because a year isn't long enough. A year, you can still be on a high after a year, and you haven't learned what can trigger you to go back. You may not realize that you are vulnerable. And then when you go to do something else and you neglect something else that you were doing before, and the next thing might not work for you, now you're confused. Now you don't know which way to turn. But you know deep down that what got you to that high that you were on was WOMs and was advertising.
Cool.
Like basically what I'm trying to say, Ruben, is you can't start leapfrogging. There is no shortcut. There is no 0 to 100. You have to go through every step. And if you're not prepared to go through every step, you will spend your life jumping from like different thing to different thing, and then complaining about it, and then complaining that like nothing works.
Do you think it's you can get kind of wrapped up in the in what you're doing in the short term or the recent past and forget what actually really helped you before? Because say hypothetically, if someone was doing kind of mechanical speech for a good 2 years and a bit, then started doing meditation and mind body and this stuff for about 2 or 3 years. Now, if someone else, if they bumped into them and said, hey, I've got a stutter, and this guy says, oh, I can help you, do you think there's a danger that they may only mention things that they've been doing in the recent past, like say, oh yeah, I do meditation and mind body and stuff, and this stuff really helps and it changed my life, etc. Because you can actually get roped into that and focus more on what you've done recently as opposed to what got you there from the blocks out onto the actual track.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really much to say on that. It's true that people will only tell you what they've most recently done and what's most recently worked for them, but it's a holistic approach. Everything has contributed to them having good speech now. It's almost as if like someone says to you, listen, I got really ripped and really muscly because I lift weights. They're not telling you about the research into macros beforehand. They're not telling you about implementing certain foods into their diet. They're not talking about bulking up and then shredding. They're not talking to you about the whole process. They're just telling you, yeah, I went on the bench press and I done 4 sets of 12 and I upped the weight every set. Well, yeah, but that isn't going to get the world ripped and healthy, is it? It's a holistic approach.
That's a great example. And something else on that one I want to mention quickly was, have you seen those kind of those fitness trainers and stuff who advocate kind of going kind of really clean and plant-based, etc. And they said, yeah, I got this by being plant-based. This is all I have, blah, blah, blah. But you forget about all the Nando's and KFC they were smashing when they were growing up and picking up weights as a teenager. And to get that kind of base structure, because would that approach, would that help a like really skinny kid in school? Because I used to be pretty slim. And if I saw this guy doing an ad saying, yeah, I got really bulky just by having plants and stuff, having broccoli all day. As in, is that like, are you actually kind of selling the real?
Yeah.
Are you selling the actual true thinkers, or are you just stripping back the unfashionable things that got you to where you are?
Yeah, you're not managing the person's expectations. Ultimately, you're literally. Well, I wouldn't go as far to say as lying, but you are being very selective with what you've actually implemented, and you're trying to zone in on one thing, and that's not the only thing that you've done. It's a holistic approach, and people need to realize that, yes, mindfulness and meditation and yoga retreats and everything helps you relax. It is good for you, but ultimately what shapes your belief system to be able to say that word in that moment is working on your speech. Because before you worked on your speech, you had no belief in yourself that you were going to be able to say that word in any situation. Now people are doing public speeches, they're launching podcasts, they're doing speeches at schools, they're doing loads of mad stuff, they're getting promotions at work.
A 10-foot tall, man. Just massive, just
yeah. But then after a year, they want to go on a mindfulness course and say, yeah, mindfulness helped me with my speech. I can't accept that on its own. I can say, yeah, it did assist you, it did help you, it is a help to you, but that's not the only thing that helped you. So to pass that on to someone who's just started out working on a speech is out of order as far as I'm concerned.
Wow, that's quite a kind of extreme way of putting it. I would probably pick a softer way, but yeah, it isn't in the same terms. Let's not beat around the bush, Chris. It is out of order. It is out of order. We have to give. Yeah.
I mean, what could be the softer way? Someone's asking you what helped you to get to the position that you're in, and you're telling them 3 years into your journey that that's what helped you.
Well, I thought the way you put it before, saying, yeah, it's a bit of a selective way of saying it. That was a bit more of I say accurate way, but I think that just goes to experience of like really listen to, or really work out who do you want to take advice from first. Who do you want to take advice from? Because if it's so easy to go to the wrong person nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, like Ruben, for example, if I came to you and said, Ruben, I want to work on my speech, how did you do it? And you said, I went to Toastmasters. That is the exact equivalent.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. Yeah, very, very true. As in, like, if you came to me like brand new, just fresh. Yeah, I completely agree. Because yes, Toastmasters has been a game changer, but there was a paradigm shift before that with my speech and going mechanical and applying all these things. So yeah, I fully agree with that. Completely agree.
It's just not about hiding steps from people. It's about being completely transparent and giving them the option, giving them all the knowledge and all your experience. That's why people get mentors, so they can explain to them exactly what they went through to get there.
I think some people do it in like the most harmless way sometimes, purely because they just forget about kind of like the fundamental steps that actually took them somewhere. Dude, like there's even people who like SHB have helped recently, and they've forgotten their recent memories. But that's a separate story that we've already moaned about in a previous episode. People are selective. It's not anything we can control, but for this particular conversation, I think it's more about kind of worrying about misinformation, especially for people like kind of trying to find a way in working on their speech.
Yeah, but that's why I personally think it's wrong. You're depriving people from valuable information that they need. They're struggling here. People are struggling. They're not living a life that they want to live. There's people that have low self-esteem. They think they have no hope in life. So to not tell them your full story, in my opinion, is not fair. You have to give them the option. I'm sorry to repeat myself, but you have to.
No worries, man. Let's move on to the next one before you repeat yourself again. because there is that danger, Chris, with this particular topic. So the next one, probably the last one as well, is, all right, you are like fresh, you're brand new, entering the forums, entering the SHB world, and you have questions about kind of speech improvement. You start to see two different sides to some of the people speaking. So you see some being really fluent. For example, what I'm doing right now, being really spontaneous, really fluent, and really free and happy. Then you see other people, more so like you probably, being a bit more mechanical, a bit more deliberate, a bit more kind of like showing, stuttering more obviously. And you're like, well, I'd rather speak like Ruben than Chris. Ruben, what did you do to get to where you are? And Chris like, hey, what about me? Now, what would you say to that person, first of all, if they had a question about kind of when to go for spontaneous or like kind of, as in probably let's split it up. So let's just say, why is Ruben going for more spontaneous speech and why is Chris going for more mechanical speech? And then I'll build up from there.
Okay, so to go back, when that person says, I prefer to speak like Ruben than CJ, how do you do it, Ruben? What I'd expect you to say is, along with other things, I've done exactly what CJ's doing. Yeah? And then what it would do is it will give that person a vision. So it will say, okay, so I do that, and then I do that, and then ultimately I can end up like Ruben. So it gives them a bit of a roadmap. It gives them a little bit of a vision of what's to come. Sometimes people just have no idea. So I don't think that's a bad thing. And I don't think it's a bad thing for that person to say, I want to sound like Ruben rather than like Chris. I don't see that as a bad thing. And I wouldn't react like, hey, what about me? But I would just, it's about explaining to them that there's steps. There's steps that you have to take. And some people, I think when it gets to our kind of level, Ruben, it's a choice. I think it becomes a choice. And then in certain situations, you have to know when you need to go more mechanical than others. That's when you have put your 2 years in, your 2.5 years in. You know which situations you want to do it more in, which situations you perhaps haven't been in enough, which ones you still need to advertise in, or you will get tension and you will get that worry that you're going to get caught out. And I think when you haven't got any of that apprehension or any of that worry or any of that concern, now you can start to, plus knowing how to self-coach, which is key, that's when you can talk like Ruben all the time.
Just want to check, that's a really good breakdown. One of the points you said is when you get to our kind of level. So how would you describe that level exactly? Like what are we able to do at that level? What are our feelings towards stuttering, towards having blocks, and what is our kind of, what's our authority on kind of like working on your speech? So what's our vibe at this level?
Completely desensitized to people's reaction. That's what I would consider our level, where there's no emotional charge behind worrying about stuttering or blocking. And I think because you have put in your work and you do your preparation all the time, you're constantly working on your speech. You've experienced different things. You've had your setbacks, you've had your blips, you've had extremely stressful times, and you've worked out how to work on your speech throughout the hardest situations in your life that probably you're ever going to come up across. You've like got married and you've had to say your vows in front of 400 people. You've had to do all these things that life has thrown at you, even in your own life. even in your own life, even your own challenges, you've overcome challenges that mean something to you whilst working on your speech, and you've worked your way through it. And I think that's the level. It's not just working on your speech for a few months. You have to experience the ups and the downs, the hard times, the low times, the having to go back for a bit more advice, all of these different things. So now you've got everything in your toolkit to do whatever you want to do with it. It's like now, Ruben, if you decided to go for spontaneous fluency and you started blocking, that's your choice, because you know everything you need to do if you don't want to block.
Yeah, completely.
That's ultimately up to you, and that's the level that I'm talking about. I don't know, like, do you have a different description of that?
No, to be honest, I hadn't really thought about it as kind of prescriptively as that, because I kind of see that level as more of a feeling as opposed to like kind of like, say for example, so something I said before, yeah, podcast great, yeah, Toastmasters great, this speech got these challenges. Now, if I'm able to perform like in all these scenarios on my worst day and be kind of like fine with it, just work on it afterwards, and just then keep achieving what I want to achieve on my worst day, then I'm already at like a level that I'm happy with. Now, to get the extra levels, that's more on my kind of discipline and my my self-discipline with my speech. By discipline, I mean the habits I've built up and the practices, and what to do in preparation for speeches, in preparation for conversations or speaking situations. That's a separate thing. But on an emotional level, which I think is the key, that's where you get the real shift. Like, do I give a crap if I go to Costa or Cafanera and I can't order a black Americano with a shot of almond? Or sorry, a shot of vanilla, and there's a long queue behind me? If I can't say it, or if I get my drink, I'm happy, right? But if you are still emotionally charged in that situation and feel like crap afterwards, then you're still in kind of first gear, I think. Then you're still in first gear.
Yeah, I agree.
To actually release those emotions, it's the most kind of freeing feeling to actually have blocks, but just it doesn't kill you afterwards. I still get a good night's sleep. And it doesn't stop you from actually living life and actually focusing energy on other people and other things, because stuttering can be energy draining. It can sap away at you because you're constantly focusing on yourself. And that may make you more distant with other people, and may make you less engaged with kind of the world around you and all these amazing things happening. So once you can actually focus less on stuttering and speech, you can actually enjoy life a lot more. And that's what I truly believe. And that's the upper level for me, right? The next level.
Yeah, because, for example, if you go into a shop and you do block, you go for spontaneous fluency and you do block, you're not going to be thinking about that afterwards. That isn't going to be playing on your mind when you're walking back to work from your lunch break. That's not going to be playing on your mind the next time you go to speak to your colleague, or when you have to pick up that phone or answer that phone. But if it is playing on your mind and you are working on your speech and you think you can still go for spontaneous fluency, but you still have all this afterthoughts and worry, then it is too early for you to be doing that, in my opinion.
Completely agree. Completely. Thank you very much, Chris. Yeah, much. Those are the three things I had. Do you have anything else to add? Any thoughts post-webinar in general today? Anything you had? This is your time to shine, Chris. I'm giving you about 7.5 minutes.
Time to shine. I mean, you raised the key points from the webinar, to be honest.
Have I missed anything? I did sign a bit late. I'm sorry.
No, because I only went on a couple of minutes before you, so you didn't miss anything that I saw that you didn't. I'm trying to think of any other questions that were raised. It seems to be a common thing now, isn't it? When to go for fluency. That seems that any Q&A we do, no matter what the topic is, where the conversation's going, it always crops up. It always crops up.
No one wants to start. That's why, on purpose or not on purpose, no one wants to start.
It always crops up.
And
that's what I think is the problem with people taking that first jump or that first leap or signing up to whichever program it is.
It's understandable, isn't it? Because
yeah, definitely. It's
understandable.
Definitely understandable. I know.
Like, I was going to say, if you were like, I don't know, 21 and you wanted to stop stuttering, you met your younger self and you right now said, hey, DJ, yeah, okay, first thing you're going to do, you're going to stutter more. And this time you're going to actually do it on purpose. What will you be thinking at 21? Okay, find someone else. I came in to like do less of it, but he's telling me to actually do more.
I think if I would have had that at 21, I would have been able to make progress at 21. Perhaps 17, 18 would have been too young for me. But at 21, 22, when I'm trying to sort my life out, trying to decide which career to go, which career path to take, I think it would have been good for me at that age. I regret not doing it earlier, but obviously hindsight's a beautiful thing. I think 21, 22, I would have been ready for it then, but I just didn't know which way to turn.
Really interesting. I think 21, 22 for me was still young because I would have just been like, I'm good now. I take my chances by myself.
Now, see, I wasn't prepared to take chances because I already made my mind up at 19, 20 that my life was going to be one long struggle. So if I had an explanation as to which route could be beneficial if I just gave it a shot, I would have given it a shot.
Cool. Very, very interesting. Very, very different as well to me.
Yeah.
Very, very different.
I used to hold back a lot more than I hear you did. Like talking to your friends yesterday, you would always be in the mix of the banter. You would always be the instigator. You would always be the first to cuss your friend and expect it back and be able to take it. I wasn't like that. I would be the person that was just on the outskirts of the conversation, looking in at everyone, having a good time. That would be me. And then I'd pop up here and there when the word came out. Sometimes it would be good timing when the word would come out. Sometimes I'd miss my chance and then I'd have to just not talk because the conversation moved on. So now my funny point won't be funny. They'll be like, yeah, we're talking about that 10 minutes ago, mate. So I think as stutterers, we were very different. You didn't allow it to control you the way I allowed it to control me. And people would be surprised at that.
I wouldn't really call it kind of I wouldn't refer to myself as a stutterer in that sense because this was just purely our kind of personality differences.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like kind of that's Ruben with the stutterer, Ruben the stutterer having banter, or Chris the stutterer telling jokes 10 minutes later. This is just personality differences that kind of, yes, I was stuttering, but these things about my personality was still showing regardless of it.
I don't know if it is personality. I think it would be more mindset and attitude towards it. Because mine was constantly negative. Like I like to think I was funny. I had banter. I was outgoing. My personality traits were there. It's just my mind wouldn't allow me to do nothing. I was trapped. I was a prisoner inside my own body. And that will shock a lot of people that know me because on the outside I look fine. I try and be as sociable as I possibly could, but I just feel like there was so much more that I could have give that I didn't. And that was purely because of my stutter.
We can go into a bit more deeply on another episode, because that's kind of a long conversation in itself.
Massive topic.
Massive. And I think that'll be really interesting, because I'm sure that, so you are really kind of like flying at the moment. Say, for example, you didn't have all this right now, and you get to age 40 or 50 or 60. Now, would you still consider yourself as internally funny and stuff like that, even though it's been bottled up for like half a century?
I would have, because I would have had my moments here and there, but they just would have been rare and few and far between. So I would have considered it like that. But you don't know, no one knows what happens with age. With age, people let go with no therapy, and they just don't care about it. So maybe the attitude you had towards it, I would have adopted at 35 or 40. I don't know. I don't really know. And my worry was constantly being able to hit predictable milestones that all my friends were hitting, and me not being able to do that. So that was bringing me down as well. Seeing all your mates move out and you're not moving out. See them getting good jobs and promotions and you're still unemployed. These type of things, because I was comparing myself all the time. Once you remove that, and once you realize you're on your own road, not to care about anybody else's road, then everything changes. Everything changes.
Incredible, Chris. Definitely next episode or the one after, we will be delving deeper into the life of Christopher Jackson. I'm looking forward to that episode. This is your life special.
This is your life.
Chris, any final words before we put this one away?
No, but I think it was a good topic to bring that up, because this morning in that Q&A, there was a few points raised and a few things that, if not controlled, could lead people down the wrong road somewhere. And it's just important to not neglect what got you to a good place in the first place. Always, but be consistent with that. And there's nothing else we've thrown other things in, providing you're sticking to the core tools, techniques, mindset, whatever it is that got you to that place.
Perfect. And I really enjoyed webinar and this podcast. It's always a pleasure discussing this stuff with people, good people. And one interesting, very valuable comment that I received was, it's always good to have these forums where you don't always have to agree with someone, and you can have a healthy argument and a healthy debate and still be in good terms, because that's not always the case in the Stammering community, is it?
No, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Sorry, it's clearing my throat. That's for real that time. Chris, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you very much for rocking up on the SHB Unfiltered Podcast. Couldn't do it without you, but probably could. There you go. I'm joking. I couldn't do it without you. Proper, as in, it wouldn't be as good as this. It would just be me and Amal probably.
Yeah, talking about
gas talk.
Arsenal or something. Man United.
I like it. All right, CJ, it's been a pleasure. Do you want to do the honors?
I will do it. Everyone, thanks for tuning in.
Power, a bit more animation this time, Chris. I saw the disappointment in your face there. Animation. Let's see some hand gestures. Buzz.
You put me off there. You've been listening to the SHB Unfiltered Podcast, episode number 43. And I want to say thank you for tuning in. And remember, stop holding back.